Living your dream life starts with knowing where you want to be and who you want to be there with. Chris and Courtney Trice have figured this out. Settling in the beautiful canyons of Boulder County, Chris and Courtney have found a perfect spot to start a family. And they're crafting a lifestyle designed around that family and all the things that they love. They've done this in their professional lives as well. Combining hobby, technology, and a love of your job, this team is making a difference for their community and potentially saving lives in the process. Whether using geo-spacing technology to allocate water resources for the fire department, or understanding a long-term vision for the exploding real estate market along the mountain front, Chris and Courtney Trice are making an impact. But they still find time to do all the things that they moved to Colorado to enjoy in the first place. So sit back, mellow out, and enjoy my conversation with Chris and Courtney Trice. I was going to do the water conservation guy. We were going to do it on Stanley Lake. Because my brother's like literally a couple blocks from there. Yeah. And I scoped it all out. I found a good spot. There was like this one tree and this vast sea of, like wavy grain or whatever, it would have been perfect, man. And then canceled all that. He said there was something about some issue with a glass recycling plant. Did you hear anything about that? Do you know anything about that? Oh, maybe full of crap. I don't know. But
yeah, there's an issue with the glass recycling.
Because he was just a friend of a friend, again, that I didn't have a relationship with, and I was trying to see if, just trying to get those extra interviews. And at first, when he first told me water conservation, I'm like, how's that going to be? Yeah. Issue? But then the more, again, like all of these, the more I got into it, the more I looked at it, I was like, oh, this could actually work. Like, do it on the lake, because my brother has a boat that he keeps on the lake, and they shut that lake down last year because of all the water issues and stuff. Like, you weren't allowed to do any recreational activities on that last year. They shut off. So he had a boat he's had for 2 years. The second year he's owned it, he didn't even get to use it. Well, at least not there. They took it to St. George and stuff and some other things. But
what kind of water issues were they having?
Just lack of. It's what it sounds like. I mean, because I guess that's a reservoir that they use for, for drinking water and all that. So I guess it was maybe with the amount of boats on the lake or sort of thing. Or, I to be honest with you, I don't know much about it. I just know that last year he didn't put his boat in there once. So he de-winterized it. He thought he might sell it, got it all set up, and all I did is put a bunch of money into it and got nothing out of it this time around. So
that sounds like a boat.
What are you gonna do? Well, that's what they say about boat ownership anyway. Like the best day is the day you buy it and the day you sell it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
or something like that. Get adjusted, come back down, whatever. That's fine. Okay.
All right.
3, 2, 1. This is the Extraordinary Podcast, and my guests today are Chris and Courtney Trice. What's up, guys?
Hey.
How's it going?
That's off to a rambunctious start. We're hitting the ground running here. How you guys doing? What's going on?
Not much. Welcome.
Where are we?
To our house. We are in Boulder, Colorado.
And not just in Boulder, but like in the hills, right?
Yeah, we're about 5 minutes west in the foothills.
Yeah.
Canyon side.
You got to crawl through the canyon to get up in here, and those switchbacks coming up that dirt road. That's no joke.
Yeah, it's nice up here. Get out of town a little bit.
How did you guys find this place? This place is amazing.
I'm in real estate, and a buddy of mine was going to list this house, and so he had us come up. Actually,
you found it first, right?
Yeah. He never put it on the market.
Good to have good friends in good places, right?
Absolutely, yes. So, yeah, I feel like we got really lucky, and it was meant to be.
Tell me about the spot, or at least describe it for those who aren't getting to see it.
Well, like Chris said, we're 5 minutes to downtown. We're right at the end of the bike path, which is really nice.
Yeah, and I found that out the hard way with the football game going on today, trying to get in here to see you guys. Got to brave that traffic getting in. That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's nice once you get up here. It's, you're away from the craziness
of downtown. Anytime you're not on game day, too, that certainly helps.
Yes.
You've got the beauty of downtown so close, but yet where we're sitting, we might as well be in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
It really has that feel for sure.
Yeah, yeah. We have animals outside our door all the time. We've got deer and fox and bear and.
So I was going to say, well, why Boulder? But I guess that kind of just answered that question, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's the spot. Because you guys are both originally East Coasters, right?
Yep. I am from Georgia. Originally from New Jersey, but mostly from Georgia.
And that's our connection is through Georgia. And how about you, Chris?
I'm from Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, originally. Split some time between there and Kilmarnock, Virginia, or Weems, Virginia, which is on the Rappahannock River, Chesapeake Bay, East Coast area.
So what brought you guys out here? And did you guys meet out here?
Yeah, we actually met when Vail Pass was closed in the wintertime. I had a...
You get locked in?
We did. I actually I was splitting a ski condo for the season with some friends, and Courtney had a mutual friend, and they were going. Well, I'll let her tell the rest of it.
Yeah.
My friend and I were going up to Vail. They had a spring concert going on,
Nice.
so we were going up to see Ben Harper and
cool.
see some friends.
Awesome.
And, we couldn't get through. Vail Pass was closed. There was a storm, so we
Nowhere to
decided to
go,
go
stranded
see
on the
if,
side of the road.
just see if this condo was available, if anybody was there, and it just so happened that everybody was there, and so our friend said, "Just come stay, crash with us," and
Make
Chris
a party
was
of it.
there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And so that was the first time you guys met?
Yep.
How about that?
Yep.
All downhill from there, huh?
Yes.
That's great. So you guys are both ski bums, huh? Like the snowboard?
Yes.
Was that the draw for Colorado like it was for me?
Well, I actually didn't know how to ski or snowboard when I first got here.
Oh, no kidding. Huh.
That's something.
So that's something you picked up while you were here?
Yes.
Nice little addiction to get a hold of you.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Right.
With the help, Chris actually
With
helped
Chris's
me
help,
with that.
yeah. Been thanking him ever since, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of miraculous that we're still together, actually, after this.
Now, that brings up a great point. So did you teach her how to snowboard?
I did.
And were you guys already dating at the time?
We were dating, and then...
Were you still dating after?
We were.
And you survived that?
Yeah, I just loaded her up with a bunch of pads, butt pads, and all that. And,
Where was the first place you took her?
where was that? Was that A Basin?
I think it was A Basin.
Man, you're not giving her any light work there, man. A Basin, half of that's above the tree line.
No, and ever since he takes me to the steepest, most
Yeah,
challenging
that's one of the
areas.
most challenging ones around. Good grief.
But it's made me, I feel like I'm pretty good now.
Well, yeah, if you're hanging on A Basin on a regular basis, clearly you're developing some skills.
Yeah,
For sure.
Much better.
What other activities you guys like to do and take advantage of here in this lovely state of yours?
Hike, camp, canoe.
But mostly snowboarding's the big driver there, right?
Yeah, and we do a lot of backcountry too. Have some split boards, so.
Ooh, yeah, that's heavy lifting, man.
Yeah, we can go all the way till May, which is really nice.
Snowboarding in May, unbelievable.
It's great. It's a lot warmer and not a lot of folks out.
You can snowboard down in your t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Exactly.
All right, so when you're not snowboarding and playing on the mountains, what's the 9 to 5? What's the day job?
I work for the city of Boulder.
And let's talk about what you do, because you have a hobby and a job that are very closely related and in a very unique fashion. Could you talk about that?
Sure, yeah. I manage a group that does GIS or mapping, makes maps.
And you're going to have to go ahead and explain it to all the lay folks, and myself included, because that doesn't mean much to me.
Sure. Yeah, GIS is Geographic Information Systems, which is just basically kind of layers of data on top of each other to make maps. So think about...
So like digital mapping, basically?
Exactly. So you throw in some GPS there, throw in like your road network, your land ownership, all that kind of stuff, put it all together, do some analysis.
And you do that for the city, you said?
Yeah, I do. I do that for the city, and then I'm also involved in volunteer firefighting. Mm-hmm. So I do fire response, emergency response, and do mapping for our local incident.
Yeah, we were talking
management
about
team.
that earlier, and I was fascinated when you first told me that you did the volunteer firefighting, and again, you make assumptions, and I came into it thinking, you're out there, you're cutting a timber line, and out there digging thing to put out the actual fires. But you've taken that way further than just boots on the ground. Tell me about how you use this geospacing for firefighting.
Yeah, so what we've been involved in lately is doing a lot of pre-planning work for our local fire department using iPads and iPhones and stuff like that.
And you say pre-planning. What are you pre-planning? Tell me about that.
Basically where we'd put our engines, our hose lays, that kind of stuff. So when we get a
like
call,
when you first roll up on the scene, you know where the nearest fire hydrant is, or whatever the case may be.
Exactly. Yeah. Where's our water source that we're going to use? Because where we are, we don't have a lot of great access to water, being in the foothills here. So we do have a couple fire hydrants, but they're right on Boulder Canyon. So really, it's
above a certain elevation, you don't have access to fire hydrants.
That's right. That's
Whoa.
right. Yeah.
Wow, that's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're, particularly like in a commercial area or whatever, or a residential area that's above that water line?
Sure. So we have some cisterns, which are basically just underground water tanks that they'll hold between 10,000 to 20,000 gallons. Then we'll also set up.
And how do you access those?
We have those around the district in strategic locations.
But then you just like run a hose from there to where the location is, or how do you access that water?
We'll use the engine to suction to pump
oh,
from it.
as like basically a pumping station.
Exactly. Yep. Use the engines to pump.
Huh.
And then we'll set up porta ponds, which are 2,000 gallon kind of ponds, and we'll run our engine tenders.
They're just kind of like just natural little recesses that you just store water naturally.
No, they're actually foldable ponds that we carry on some of our engines. So they kind of fold out, and they've got some
like a kid's giant swimming pool kind of thing.
Exactly. Think about a giant swimming pool for a kid. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
So then, how do you fill those? You would do that off of the cisterns?
Some with the cistern, and then we'll have engine tenders. So
what's that?
It's just a big water truck, basically.
Huh.
And we'll run it from the different cisterns that we have.
So basically just like a go-between. Just fill it up over there, run, come dump it here, go back, fill up. And just
exactly, yep, some water shuttles.
And how big did you say that those little temporary ponds are?
2,000 gallons.
Wow, holy cow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. There's a lot of dynamics to this that I just never really, again, I'm so naive thinking it's just the guys out there with a shovel,
No, yeah, there's a lot goes into it. So that's what that, pre-planning stuff does is figures out where the best locations are, because like I said, there's a lot of dynamics into
and
fighting
that's
fire.
Where the geospacing comes in, huh?
Exactly.
So you figure out the optimal place to have all those different, oh, wow.
Exactly.
Huh. Now that makes a lot of sense. That's crazy.
Yeah, because kind of when shit's hitting the fan, you don't want to be, trying to figure all that out if you have that already done.
Right, you want to have all the logistical things figured out before the emergency shows up on your doorstep. Right?
Exactly.
Because once the fire's there, then it's too late.
Exactly. And you're just, you're wasting a lot of time trying to figure that stuff out.
So what's your biggest challenge in doing that?
I think for us in this location is we don't have access to internet or connectivity. So we're doing everything offline and then trying to, go back and find service. And so, the application that we're using.
Again, something that a city guy, doesn't necessarily even think about.
Yeah. For, if you're flatland, you have access to internet most of the time.
And cell service is, widely available. There's not very much. It's funny that because I actually had some really important emails that I needed to get out. And I did up at Breckenridge have some issues. We were having some connectivity issues even up there. So
yeah, so that's kind of the big thing for us.
That's the biggest. What's the solution for that, you think?
I've been working with a group that they've kind of figured out using some military technology, some wireless mesh technology, which is basically creating a network between radios, and you'll put one up where you do have connectivity.
Huh.
That's kind
of. And then you can use the radio to then supplement the service.
Exactly.
Huh.
Exactly.
Or amplify the service.
Totally. So you're making your own network.
You're making your own little cellular network off of radios.
You are.
Off of shortwave radios.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of we haven't adopted it yet.
Are you a radio head? Are you into much of that stuff?
Not really. That's a little bit over my head. There's
Same for me. I tried to dabble in it a little bit,
Yeah.
but those engineer geeks that are all into it, man, they're so above my skill set, man. It's like I can't keep up, you know.
Yeah, there's some really smart guys on.
Really smart guys are into that
Yeah,
stuff.
the City of Boulder Wildland team, they're working on that, and I think one of the biggest drawback or the biggest hurdles is just the cost of each of those units. But
Sure. Especially for small municipalities, that all those
Yeah.
expenses can be challenging.
Yeah.
And you were talking about that earlier with some of the software that you guys had access to, and that you were able to get that through like federal government or,
That's
or
right.
something like that. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's right. Yeah, the National Wildland Coordinating Group, federal agency, federal group. They have a partnership with the software company Esri, and they have granted us access, or local fire departments access to the ArcGIS Online, basically software platform.
You said RTS?
ArcGIS.
ArcGIS.
Yeah,
Okay.
getting a
gotcha.
little bit technical.
Arc
terms.
is just the software version for that
geographic
information systems. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so any local fire jurisdiction, they have access to it, and really becomes kind of a game changer, because you have a place that you can collect all this data and store it and make these online maps and have access to all these great applications.
Is that for just you guys in Boulder that were able to get that access, or has that pretty much been statewide? All departments been able to get that?
It's national.
So all firefighter departments around the country can have access
They
to that
could,
now.
yeah. I just don't think a lot of them either don't know about it or might not have the technical expertise to
Right,
get some
because
stuff
you just
set
kind of
up.
lucked into it with your situation with your regular other job working for the city. You had such a background in that. You were able to bridge that gap. And you were
Exactly.
telling me, too, that was something that you kind of just did on your own. Like you just kind of came up with this, right?
That's right. That's just kind of a side hustle. I mean, I'm not getting paid for it, but
Right.
Arch-
But what a commitment to something that's so important, and to have that as a side hustle. I mean, how cool, man.
it is. And I think it's, what I was just trying to do is get all the data within Boulder County together. That's responding to fires when you're mapping, trying to find that information becomes, can be a challenge. So this was a great opportunity. And my fire chief approached me and said, hey, we've got these hard copy fire books or red books, and they're out of date, and how can we do this on a digital platform?
And tell me about these red books, because those are something that are integral to firemen, but yet, like you're saying, it was not even digital up until you got involved with it.
Yeah, no, those were just, hard copy books. And
Just loose leaf.
exactly.
What was the information contained in those?
Just information about the structure itself, a picture, how many bedrooms, where there's access to the house.
All the different things that could help you deal with that fire, or more importantly, save lives.
Exactly,
in theory.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah. So, we're going to eventually have all this stuff on an iPad in our engines. So then when we have a call, we just pull it up.
Instant
and-
access.
Yep, and go.
It's so amazing to me, because, like I was telling you earlier, I was speaking with another buddy that's doing some of the wildlife conservation, and the way that they're using technology in such a smart way to make their jobs easier and better, more effective. And that's exactly what you're doing. I mean, the beauty of that, like in his case, he's saving the lives of animals, and in your case, you're literally saving lives by what you're doing.
Yeah, potentially.
that's-
I just hope we never have to.
Yeah,
Have any
hopefully
structure
you
fires
never have.
around
Yeah,
here.
that it's not an issue, but certainly you're preparing accordingly for how you need
Absolutely, and we're just seeing fires get bigger and meaner every year. I mean, this year it's been, knock on wood, pretty good because of our snowpack and
to. Yeah, you got a
and spring
great
rain, but
winter last year.
Yeah,
Yeah, or last winter was just an epic
yeah, I know.
dumping. So I was fortunate enough to be out here for briefly to take advantage of it a little bit. But yeah, that's and I didn't realize too all the different water issues that you guys had to deal with in this state. I mean, water. I knew California, obviously, that's a really big deal for a lot of people. That's in the news a lot because of all the agriculture and all that. But the forest fires that you guys have here, I mean, that's a real big problem for you, right?
Oh yeah, real big here in the West. We've had
And
some,
in Colorado specifically. right? I mean,
Colorado, yeah, we've had some pretty big ones recently, and
Are most of your calls when you're on call are most of them for the hills, or most of them in town?
We're specifically west of Boulder.
Okay, so you're designated in the hills.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not going to necessarily get calls that are like in downtown or at the university or something like
No,
that.
no. Our district goes just outside the city limits, so we're mostly west of town.
Then as a department as a whole, do you guys see more calls in that west end where you're at, or do you see more calls in town?
It's just spread across the district.
It just depends.
Yeah,
There's
it
no
depends.
necessarily rhyme or reason to it.
No, it's all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did that draw come from? The desire to do the firefighting and all that?
I don't know. I think my first job when I moved out here was working for an engineering firm doing flood mapping, and it was just kind of the emergency response part of, flood mapping. And
Did you have an emergency response role in that capacity?
not at that first job, but when I moved over to the city, we had a big fire here in 2010, the 4 Mile fire, and I wasn't involved at that point.
Tell me about that because I'm not familiar.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the bigger ones here in Boulder County, where we lost over 200 homes, 6,000
wow.
acres, big wind-driven event. That was a nasty fire, and then we had some flood issues right after that for the next few years,
Because of all the erosion and all the damage that had been done?
You got it. It just, the soil becomes, reflects water basically, and it just runs off. And
Yeah, and they actually had, we were up in Breckenridge yesterday. They shut down I-70 for a little slide they had yesterday.
That's right.
That's
right.
unbelievable, man. It's crazy.
That's right.
It's always neat to me to go to different areas of the country and see the different challenges that you have to deal with. Like for us, we're talking about hurricanes, this Dorian thing, and you guys just have this whole different set of things that you're dealing with. And I was talking about the California crowd. They've got their set of stuff that they're dealing with, and
Yep.
it's like everybody's got something that you're just going to have to contend with and get through. Tell me about growing up. Was there anything that kind of shaped you growing up that made you kind of want to go down this route?
I've been thinking about that a little bit. I had, my grandfather was World War II, and he was a navigator in the bombers, and I think maybe
On a B-52?
I think I don't know if it was a B-52 or another plane, but maybe it's just in my blood. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's funny that you bring that up because I've had several guests go back to their grandfather in World War II and reference that as somebody that kind of played a bit of a pivotal role in some of their decision making or like kind of what shaped them a little bit. That's really cool.
Oh, interesting.
It's interesting that you said that. Was there any experience or a memory that you have from childhood that made a lasting impact on you or that helped mold you into the person that you are today?
Well, there's one particular memory I have where it was I think just after high school, and I had my godfather had built his own airplane.
Oh, wow.
Really interesting. He was an engineer and built a plane and actually set a world record, a world speed record for it.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Pretty awesome.
That is really cool.
So it'd been,
What was his name?
Ed Covington.
Ed Covington.
Yeah. And he had offered to take me up and fly me around, and I was coming home. I think I was home from college, and it was out partying the night before with some buddies, and woke up in the morning and just felt terrible, and but decided this is awesome. I can't be hungover and bail on him. So I went,
Good for
and
you.
we had a great time, and we flew to Tangier Island. And had some in the middle of the bay, Chesapeake Bay, and had some crabs, and just had a really great time, and it was amazing. And then he passed away, I think maybe that year or the year after, shortly thereafter.
Wow. How grateful were you for getting that in and having that experience and not sleeping in with that hangover?
I know, exactly. That would have been, just something I would regret. So I think from now on, it's like, just
even if you don't feel like it, man, just get out there and go ahead and do it, man. That's great, man. That's definitely the philosophy that I've been trying to take, and it's so hard too, especially like in you guys with the brand new baby and all these new responsibilities, and you're tired and you just don't want to go do some of this stuff. But having those experiences, taking the time, so important, man.
Yep.
So important.
I mean, rarely are you going to regret it.
And that's a little different than going out and partying and missing those experiences, but going out and having more meaningful experiences. like what you're talking about. That's really what it's all about. That's awesome. What a cool thing. What was one of your toughest losses?
I got into a car accident maybe the end of '98 and broke my pelvis in a couple different places.
Yikes.
Yeah. And easily could have died. That was probably the closest I've ever really come to.
And so what did you learn from that experience? What did you gain from that?
Well, it was the fear of not being aware of how do I put this? So thinking about how I had been living in my lifestyle up until then, just a lot of self-reflecting and where do I want to be and who do I want to be and how do I want to live my life. It began to change after that, and
got some
definitely seize the day and do all the things that you want to do and enjoy all the people that you love and make sure they know it. And
make those trips, make those phone calls.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because, again, like we were just saying earlier, another theme with a lot of my guests is they've gone through, you live that life in the fast lane kind of lifestyle for a while, and it's fun. And when you're young, it's good to have some of that experience, I guess, to a certain extent. But as adults and as we start to figure some things out, we realize that there's no meaning in any of that. There's no joy in any of that. There's no fulfillment in any of that. You realize that it requires something more out of you. That easy, fun party lifestyle just doesn't cut it. It's just not enough. It's not good enough.
Right.
And a lot of people typically have some type of experience that kind of slaps them in the face a little bit, says, hey, wake up, what are you doing?
Yeah, I feel like I was
Take
giving
advantage.
A lot of warnings.
But that was finally the one that
it was a big one.
Yeah, excellent. That's really cool. What's one thing that you do that most people do not do that has contributed to your success?
I don't know what other people do.
Sure you do. You watch TV, you see all the generic whatevers. And
yeah.
Chris clearly thinks there's something that you do that he's thinking of.
I don't know.
Speak
Why
for her,
don't
Chris.
you
what do you think, Chris?
Tell me.
Tell her. Because I can see there's something on your mind.
I don't know. I think you're super organized and you plan things out. I mean, especially with your diet now, you've figured some stuff out in the way to live and plan almost, I'd say, a week or two in advance, meals and that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe
do you do meal planning and all that kind of stuff? You do all that organization? Well, hey,
I
that's
do,
not weird.
to.
That's just called Mom 101, right? That's roles and responsibilities of keeping this household intact and fed and
it's a little
watered.
OCD, but it works.
That's great.
When you can't eat.
A little OCD helps being a mom.
Yes.
I really believe that.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Yeah. Well.
Because you got so much to keep up. Because us guys, I mean, we can barely take care of ourselves. And so we need you to take care of some of our stuff. And then you guys have a new little addition running around here. You want to talk about our man, Crosby?
Yeah. He just turned 9 months. He just started crawling. Life has gotten more exciting and challenging and stressful.
Yeah,
and
stressful,
awesome.
Especially. How you doing with the sleep?
Sleep is always changing, but
always,
somehow getting a little bit more consistent, if that makes any sense. But yeah, overall, it's baby time. It just seems to last forever when you're in the moment, and then you look back and it's just gone by so fast. I don't know.
Blink and you miss it. It always goes faster than you want it to, that's for sure.
Oh, he's great. Stoked.
Yeah.
Have a little boy running around in the mountains.
Well, and as a dad, it's really neat to have new experiences, to learn how to snowboard, that sort of thing, to learn how to rock climb, all that. But what is so much cooler is when you take that little rugrat and you go let him have that experience, or her for that matter, because it works for both of them. But when you take something that you know you love and are so passionate about, and then you dump it on them and you see them get into it and thriving and loving and digging on it, to me that the joy level goes way beyond whatever you could get for yourself. Like the best powder day by yourself is nothing anywhere close to a crummy day with your kid out there where they ended up having a good day and a breakthrough moment, because those are the winning days that you're just like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, as soon as he can stand, we're going to try to get him on board.
Ready to go
push
already.
him down the driveway.
Yeah.
Get him excited.
Get those knee pads ready. Get those skin knees ready to go, man.
Exactly.
Just,
He'll be low to the ground, so it won't hurt.
When they're that little, they're real bendable and flexible, and they don't break very easily. So that's really fun. That's great. And he looks like a ball of fire, man. He looks like a lot of fun for sure.
He does. He's got that blonde hair that sticks straight up.
Yeah.
And, man, I've been saying recently he's got his turbo now.
Yeah.
Just running around or crawling around like a maniac.
And he looks just like Billy Idol. I think that would be he's got the Billy Idol white, blonde, poofy hair. That's just so awesome.
Totally. It's like he stuck his finger in a light socket.
Yeah, it's great. That's awesome. What's been the most challenging aspect of having to adjust to new parenthood and all that?
All of it.
Yeah, just that adjustment.
Yeah.
Being a new mom, yeah.
It's strange. You have all this freedom that you didn't really think that you had, and just going to run errands and planning your day out. Yeah, everything's revolved around sleeping, eating, and just keeping
and you never knew how good a nap could feel, probably.
Right.
Once you have a kid, at least that's how it was for me. Like I never knew how glorious a nap on Sunday afternoon was until I had a couple of kids.
Yeah.
And now it's like, man, if I get one of those, it's a good day for sure.
It's actually, if he gets a good nap,
yeah.
I feel
right, because that makes your life way easier if he gets a good nap for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of your plans. What are your goals? Where do you want to go from here? You guys have got a great situation and a great location.
Yeah. So, business goals.
Yeah.
More business.
Let's talk about the real estate a little bit, because obviously that's your main thing is real estate here in Boulder.
Yep. Real estate here has been pretty crazy for the last 6 or 7 years.
This place is growing like nothing I've seen. And
yes.
I come from Georgia. You mean we're in Georgia? I mean, we have the same kind of growth, but Boulder in particular. Just the traffic. I was shocked on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, there's a ton of tourism, and we have CU here, so.
You got to drive right through campus to get up into this canyon road, I noticed, huh? Is that pretty much the only way in, or do you have some alternatives to avoid some of that?
Oh, I guess 36,
traffic?
Yeah. Is
not a lot
campus.
of easy ways to get up in here.
No, that's pretty much the only way, unless you go up peak to peak.
But again, I came during game day, so that probably wasn't the smartest move on my part.
Yeah.
Guess I should know the schedule a bit before me, along with the University of Nebraska, all showed up all at once.
I had no idea either. I went down to the store
and it was a party.
Yeah. I was like,
it was
what is going on?
For sure.
It's football season.
Here's a cool one. What's your favorite gadget or device under $100 that you couldn't live without?
Well, my wireless earbuds are.
Which brand do you use?
I use Beats.
Do you like the Beats?
I do like the Beats.
Do you sweat in them very much?
Yeah, I use them all the time, hiking
and you haven't had any
running.
issues with them dying out on you?
No, they've been fine. I've had them for.
Are they waterproof?
2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I go through about 4 pair a year.
You
There's
sweat a lot.
one pair that I use now that's, you can actually literally swim in them. They're that waterproof. But yeah, with all the sweating and everything, I've never found any that will hold up for a significant amount of time. Even the expensive ones. I've tried them all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
These
how about
work.
you, Chris? You got a gadget under $100 or a device or a tool, something that you like that's your go-to item?
Yeah, probably lame answer, but tape measure. We're doing, we've done a lot
for
of.
the job, yeah. It's kind of like the utility knife.
Leatherman,
there you go.
Yeah, I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, I was, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, we had to do a lot of, remodeled our house, so.
Oh, you guys remodeled this?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Awesome. Amazing house. It's not going to be on the video, but we're in the side yard here area, but the house setup, the view coming through the kitchen and love it. So jealous, man. I just come from Breckenridge to you guys, and I thought I'm leaving the mountains. I was kind of sad, coming out of the hills, and then I just go right back in. I'm like, yes, just a few more hours I get to enjoy this crazy terrain.
Yeah, we actually rent this out a little bit when we do other stuff, go on vacation or whatever.
Brilliant.
Airbnb, so
Awesome.
little plug.
I love Airbnb, and I've got some great stories behind that. Yeah, good call, man. That's a great way to have a little bit of supplemental income, and one of those ways how you figure out how to make a lifestyle that you want. You can design that by doing little things like that, little ways to take advantage of every little thing that you can. So that's great.
We've had some interesting times, though. It seems like
Have y'all had some interesting renters come through as Airbnbers?
Actually, everyone's been pretty good.
No problems with anything?
Yeah, it seems like every time at Airbnb something breaks in the house or something goes wrong.
Never fails.
Hot tub recently, the septic tank, all that.
Oh, no.
A bunch of...
That's just like those joys of homeownership thing.
Yeah, right? But it's always like...
But it's always
right
when you're
before
not there.
You're about to take off. Yeah.
Oh, right before you leave.
Yeah.
Well, better it happen while you're here than when you're not, because then you got to pay somebody to come in here and fix it instead of taking care of it yourself. Early bird or night owl?
I've transitioned into more of an early bird.
Yeah, as we get older, we tend to do that, don't we?
Yeah, and especially in the summer when it's light early and cooler in the morning.
And you want to take advantage.
I could take Mojo up to Sanitas, which is a mountain in town that's like my workout mountain.
What do you do there? What's your activity?
We hike.
Hiking.
Yeah, so it's a really good climb and
good heart rate raiser.
Yeah, good run down. And
yeah,
but you have to do it, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Or it's too hot.
In the middle of summer, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I always like the workouts where you go up first and then you come down second. I hate the workouts where you go down first and you come up second.
Yeah.
And in Colorado, that's just part of working out. You have to have a down, you have to have an up. There's no one way or the
All
other.
All the fun things are
you're either going down or you're going up, one of the two. That's great. Yeah. How about you, Chris? You early bird or night owl?
Well, early bird now, no choice.
Doing that same kind of transition ever with the kids and all.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and to be honest with you, though, I love it. And I've been in that morning world for a long time now. But I find that really is a great time to get a lot of stuff done and to be very productive. And it's kind of like that alone time. I think it's helpful.
Yeah, it's nice, calm, quiet.
Yeah, and you can just kind of get
chill.
that peaceful good thing. And I've actually been doing quite a bit of meditating in that time frame, and that's my favorite time to meditate. What about, do you guys have any morning or bedtime routines that you try to stick with or that have developed over the years that tend to work for you? Or I guess what I think of is so what I try to do is I try to have some reading time where I'm reading something that's specifically for a personal development kind of thing. And then I do a meditation time. And then for me, my exercise is part of my morning routine. Mm-hmm. So, and obviously I think most of us agree that exercise is a very important aspect of it. And so part of my morning routine is the exercise piece of it. Do you exercise in the evening or in the morning?
I usually need to exercise in the evening when Chris can come home.
Just based off schedule.
Right, and Chris exercises in the morning before he goes to work.
Yeah,
so
that's
we can
exactly,
get that
that's what
in.
I do too. Yeah, same kind of idea.
But yeah, I do.
Do you find it difficult to exercise in the afternoon? Do you find yourself running out of gas?
My schedule pre-baby, I would hike, yoga, usually 5 to 6 days a week.
But you're doing it in the evening?
But I would do that in the afternoon or the morning, or I would hike in the morning, yoga in the afternoon.
Okay, you can do 2 days. Nice.
Yeah, when I had all this
when
free
you had all
time.
That lifestyle of the no constraints, I guess.
Right.
No
and
responsibilities.
Meet with clients, do any sort of lunch or coffee or
and,
a lot of times
and on a whim too. There was no pre-planning involved. You could just jump off and go. And now you got I got to know a week in advance. I got to line up my babysitters and everything.
Yeah.
It's a whole different process.
Not
for sure.
exercising quite as much as I used to,
well,
or as
but
freely.
That first. Hey, look, for what it's worth, again, having 5 kids, that first year is just a tailspin, man. You just hang on for dear life, and if you're still talking to each other at the end of a year and getting some decent sleep, then you're doing pretty good. So I wouldn't worry too much about the exercise piece of it.
Right.
For sure.
But that's
for what it's
my
worth,
favorite thing to do.
I would seeing you walk down the street, I would never have guessed you had a baby 9 months ago. So you're clearly doing something pretty well. So kudos to you. So new mom, you get lots of advice. New parents, you get all kind of good advice about what you need. What's the worst advice that you've heard so far that you've been given as a new mom? Or maybe just in general, but I'm curious as a new mom.
I don't know if I've gotten any.
Has there been anything where somebody's told you and you're just like, what are you talking about?
I probably just completely forgot it immediately because I thought it was ridiculous.
To begin with.
Yeah. I honestly, the first 6 months, I feel like were kind of a blur.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And then
what
I
they
started to get a little bit more sleep, and I can remember a little bit more.
And you were saying earlier, now y'all are starting to get into a bit of a routine now. Things are starting to get a little bit somewhat normalized, at least.
Yeah, he was napping on, well, basically me every day. He would take naps in the ergo, or if Chris was home, he would take naps. He would have to be on one of us for his naps during the day. So we weren't sleeping at night.
Fall asleep on you kind of thing?
Yeah,
and
I wasn't
that's a
sleeping
tricky one to get down, man, because you love it.
It started to catch up with me.
But then it comes back and bites you in the behind later on.
Yeah, I just started to get to where
But there's nothing better than that little snuggle in the I mean, when they bury in, I mean,
sweet.
how do you give that up, you know? It's like...
It was pretty
That's
sweet.
what it's all about.
It still happens on vacation. He's, walking the beach.
Any excuse.
He was still sleeping on me, which I couldn't.
Excellent. Hey, like I
get
said,
mad
man,
at.
soak it in and enjoy every minute of it. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. Do
Nothing
you
wrong
remember
with that.
anything, Chris?
You got any bad advice as a new dad? Or any good advice for that matter? What's some of the best advice you've gotten that's held true? Not to...
This is all temporary.
This too shall pass.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's with all of life, not even just with kids. But
right.
That's
sort of my mantra.
That's some great advice.
In the hard times.
How about you, Chris? Any good or bad advice, one way or the other?
No, I think mostly just good advice. Just enjoy every day, because they do change so fast. So just give them a squeeze every day, even when it's tough.
So what does 10 years look like for you guys?
10 years. Well,
10 years down the line, he'll be in what, about middle school? Probably, Crosby going into middle school. What's a day in the life of the Trices look like?
Well, I think we'll be snowboarding a bunch if it's winter time. Hopefully we're all healthy, happy.
All the things moving and operating as they should.
Exactly. Trying to. Hopefully we've been done some traveling. Crosby knows how to surf. That'd be awesome.
Very cool. Where are you going to teach him that? Because obviously that's going to be a challenge out here.
We'll go to the Outer Banks.
Oh,
That's
nice.
Old stomping grounds.
Great.
Got some family out there. So
Yeah, good excuse.
I imagine that'll be
Good
be the
excuse.
place.
And that'll go hand in hand with the snowboarding. So yeah,
Exactly.
get him going both ways. Or just, I tell you what, you can now with this wake surfing, man. I mean, you can't hardly beat that. All you got to do is buy a boat. You don't even have to go to the East Coast.
Buy a boat, huh?
Yeah, buy a boat and just start doing the wakeboarding thing.
We'll go surfing.
Wake surfing, man. It's a blast. But what's a $100,000 boat? No big deal.
That's a lot of trips.
Because that's about what. I was gonna say that actually might not be the cheaper way to go. Now that I think about it. Oh, that's great. What about the real estate market? I'm curious, Courtney. 10 years from now, what do you expect this market to look like?
Well, I think this past year we've seen sort of a plateau.
Have you?
Yeah,
Nice.
It's definitely calmed down quite a bit from the past few years. But I feel that Boulder and Boulder County, it's still pretty steady all along the Front Range and Denver. There's still a lot of people
Well, I mean,
coming
clearly
in.
the demand is here, but do you think that the supply, I mean, do you think it is going to continue to spread and grow, or do you think that it'll just move on somewhere else, or what do you think this market's going to look like?
I think this market is always going to be pretty healthy. Even when we experienced that crash,
like 2008 or what?
2007, 2008, everything just sort of went on hold here. And as soon as the economy picked up, prices increased 16 to 20% every year. For a good, it's been 7-8 years, and people are offering 50 50 grand over asking. There's multiple offers.
50 grand over asking?
Multiple offer situations, dropping appraisals, dropping inspection.
Dropping inspections.
It's just anything that you can do to get property. And our supply was definitely not keeping up with the demand. But I think now it's definitely settled down a little bit.
You've seen a little bit of a evening out.
Yeah.
Well, and again, that like it's to be expected. I mean, like you couldn't go on that meteoric rise.
No.
Well, and if you did, it would be detrimental to the community.
Yes.
And the long-term plan, long-term effect. And that's kind of what you guys come in with the city planning, with what y'all do with that geo-spacing. That kind of falls into that same realm as well. What do you think it's going to look like 10 years from now?
Yeah, I think as there's more infill, I do think it'll be probably less single-family units, but more multifamily.
Really?
That kind of stuff.
No kidding, like condos?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the direction. The city has an affordable housing program too, so trying to get more people in the affordable housing that can afford it.
Is that an issue here?
Oh, big time.
Is it really?
Big time. Yeah, there's it's hard to live and work in Boulder. So I feel super fortunate that we're close
just because
enough.
cost of living has just gotten so ridiculous.
Yeah, so a lot of people are in commuting, it's a bummer. So
yeah,
trying to crack
hate
that
to
nut
see
is
that
a challenge. Yeah.
Well, I spent some time Thursday in Timnath, which is just outside of Fort Collins, and probably that's a solid hour plus outside of Denver, and probably half that community are commuting into Denver.
Yeah.
And I got to experience it when I left at 6 o'clock in the morning to get to Breck. And I was right in with all the commuters going into Denver the whole way. And it was thick, man. It was thick for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, that's soul crushing to me.
It was a little bit. Now, that being said, Timnath is a beautiful community. And that you are seeing more, the new development that's coming in, the people that are coming in don't seem to be the commuters. They do seem to be more telecommuters and people that are working actually out of Fort Collins and some of that. So I think that trend is shifting for sure. But clearly, it was Suburbia 101, man. It was as atypical as you could possibly imagine. But now that being said, I'd move to Timnath tomorrow, man. That place is gorgeous. There were kids out skateboarding and throwing footballs. It was like the whole just green grass, it was beautiful. It was a wonderful community. But, and the people that I was staying with there actually have a business in Timnath, which is really cool. And that's what their hope is to have a gathering place in that community where people can come and not go all the way into Denver or even, quite frankly, into Fort Collins. You got a good thing going right there, man. And it's a really cool scene. Colorado is clearly on the forefront of a lot of things, whether it be microbrewerying or obviously the marijuana, the drug legalization issue that's going on here. What do you think this state looks like 10 years from now?
I think we're a lot more dense on the Front Range. People are going to continue to come. I think we've got some challenges we need to figure out with I-70 getting to the mountains.
Because, that thing's been a problem for a while now.
It's a mess, yeah, and just, I don't know what point people
just yesterday it was shut down for a slide. We
Yep.
were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah, and then I think how these communities are planning, what does that look like? I'm not totally sure, but I think being smart about it and, conserving water.
I was going to say the water conservation issue has quickly come to the forefront. As one of the most pressing issues that not even just where Boulder or just Denver, but this whole front. It's a problem top to bottom. It's something that everybody's having to figure out. It's not just an isolated area or something like that where it's an easier fix. You got to come up with some. And if people keep coming, just like California, if they keep coming, you got to have the infrastructure to support it.
Yeah. I fully expect people to continue to come. It's a beautiful state, great lifestyle, great living, and why not?
What do you guys have coming up in the short term? Any exciting plans? Any cool concerts? Any events you're planning? You said you might be doing some travel, or you hope to do some travel. Any of that on the horizon, or are you just in baby mode for the moment? Just still trying to survive all that.
We're going up to Breck in a couple weekends to
Nice.
celebrate.
Still finding some time, some quiet time for the two of you, sort of thing.
Exactly, Courtney's birthday, and
Oh, okay, cool.
just past our anniversary, and leaves are changing. And
What do you guys do when y'all go up there?
we're gonna go hike, look at some leaves, do some leaf peeping,
Nice. Yeah, be the fall that time of
some
year.
peepers.
There was they had Oktoberfest going up there today already. I'm like, and I'm still thinking it's August because I can barely keep up to September, and I'm sitting there Oktoberfest in August, and like, well, first of all, it's September, but yeah, we're gonna get started early. So, but it was cool. I mean, they had the whole downtown shut down. It's the whole nine. So, it looked like a pretty fun deal. I always my guests always have an opportunity to plug any events, causes, charities that they support or believe in or promote. Is there anything like that you guys have that you want besides Crosby? Because he's the one-man rodeo.
Yeah.
Anything else besides that?
Sure. Well, I really like Meals on Wheels. I did some volunteering for them pre-Crosby.
Yeah, when that free time actually existed.
Right. I really like the program, and I hope it sticks around, and definitely will get back into that and bring him with me. It's just I got pregnant, and I was very sick for the whole first half of the second trimester, so going in and smelling the food was very hard.
Yeah, dealing with that
So I had to
nauseousness.
stop.
Yeah. Hey, like I said, man, that free pass on that pregnancy window, man, you get that should be a free pass for everybody because that's
Yeah.
what you guys go through, man.
It's
I tell you what,
challenging.
I am so glad. That is something I will never have to worry about.
Yeah,
But more
yeah.
power to you, so that's great.
But yeah, that's a great program.
Awesome.
I really
Yeah.
think people should support that, and I guess you could find me on Facebook and Instagram, Courtney Trice at Live West Realty.
Live West Realty.
Yeah,
Throw
keep
that
up
out there.
with what's going on in
Make sure
Boulder
that y'all have a
County.
website. Just livewestrualty.com.
Yep, or you could find any properties that you want to look up on the MLS through CourtneyTrice.com.
If you want to move, if you're gonna force yourself to move to Boulder,
You're
call
gonna
Courtney.
twist
'Cause
your arm.
Yeah, if you gotta come here, we're not telling you to come, but if you do,
Yeah.
call Courtney. She'll take good care of you.
Yep.
Awesome.
Certainly
Appreciate
will.
that. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, a couple things. I think breed-specific legislation for dogs. There's some pit bull bans in some communities around here that, in my opinion, is unfortunate because we have a pit bull, Mojo, who's been nothing short
Awesome
of
dog.
amazing.
He greeted me at the door.
He's awesome, so
He's
I don't
fantastic.
understand.
He's been hanging out with me all day, man. He like adopted me there for a minute.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why.
Well,
people-
it's like anything else. It's the stereotypes and
Yep.
the lack of knowledge and lack of education.
Exactly. And then I'm part of an organization called the Friends of Berthoud Pass.
Say that again.
Friends of Berthoud Pass.
Bertha Pass?
Berthoud, yeah, that's a pass here in Colorado. So what we do is free avalanche education.
Cool.
Yeah. So we put on some classes in the fall and the winter. And
How can people find out more about that?
I think it's berthoudpass.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we'll have a bunch coming up and.
And you have classes like actual on-site up there in the pass? And
We do in January. We have a weekend where we take people on the snow.
show them like how it actually all works.
Exactly.
When they do that little demonstration with cutting it out and letting it slide, I think that's so cool. Like to understand the physics behind it, you know, and it just makes you so much smarter, especially if you're out there backcountrying it, man. That's you gotta know what you're getting yourself into for sure.
Yep. We just want to, have people be aware and get some basic knowledge, and hopefully, people will continue their avalanche education and be safe and make smart decisions.
Awesome. Who would you like to see on this podcast? Or any podcast for that matter? Like, who would you find interesting, do you think would make for an interesting guest for this show?
We have a neighbor who would be excellent for this
What's
podcast.
her name? And tell me why you think she would be interesting for the show.
Well, his name is Matt Moniz, and he's climbed Everest how many times?
I don't know, 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
And he's maybe in his second year of college.
What?
Yeah.
So, like, he's that young, or he just went back to school as an old man?
No, he's that young.
Wow.
The whole family is incredible.
Well, clearly, because, I mean, you're only climbing Everest at a young age unless if you're like your whole family's into it or something.
They just really get after it.
Wow. That sounds really cool. Yeah, I'll definitely have to reel him in. What's funny is I got to meet with a lot of great people in Colorado for this trip and meet some really neat people like you guys. And everyone has been so kind to help me to line up other interviews. And through the course of just this one trip, I literally have a whole nother trip planned off of just the referrals of the friends and family and everything that all worked out from this trip. So I was originally like, okay, well, I'm going to do this trip, and I've got this Seattle thing, and then New Orleans, and I've got these other locations going. But like now I'm like, well, shoot, I've already got more at Denver now for the next round than I do at some of these other cities. So
Perfect.
I really appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with me and to share people like that with me, because that's pretty much how this show works. That's the only way I get really the kind of people I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Is through knowing people that are doing that and then finding out who they learned it from and did they inspire you guys at all to kind of this kind of lifestyle, or was there anybody else who inspired you guys down this path?
I've just always had a connection to the mountains. You know, when I lived in Boone, I felt it, and
Some about them, right? I mean, there's just some people have that connection. I think I've got it as well, and some people don't, you know, clearly, but when you have that, it's almost like it kind of calls to you a little bit, I think.
Right. And then when you're in this lifestyle, it's just easy that's the norm. So
Well, yeah, and you see how great life can be living
a
full, healthy, fully active lifestyle. It's just it's so fulfilling and rewarding, I think.
It is very
really,
much.
Because I've also been out of shape and in, you know, not the best place when another time in my life, and to know both sides of it, to see how fulfilling that healthier kind of lifestyle is, man. It's just like, how could you do it any other way?
Yeah.
Just don't see it.
Yeah, you can't go back.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like once you know what you know, it's like there's no turning back. Yeah. Kind of like snowboarding.
Yes.
No giving it up once you've been there. It's like, let the addiction begin.
Yes.
Well, hey, you guys, really appreciate y'all taking the time to meet with me, especially because we did not know each other. We met through a mutual friend, or I got introduced to you through a mutual friend, and we're going to give a shout out to Red Sonia and Jeremy Ruiz, our partners in crime. Yeah, whoop, whoop. They're in California. They're not even anywhere close to us, but Sonia was kind enough to make sure that our paths crossed. So big shout out to her, and like I said, appreciate you guys, and thank you much, and we'll look forward to, I guess, the next trip out here, we're going to have to get some snowboarding in for sure.
Yes, please.
We'll meet on the mountain and do our next episode straight from the ski lodge.
That sounds great. I appreciate you having us on here.
All right, thanks a lot, you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening. So what'd you think? What did I miss? Anything that you wanted to hear that I didn't cover? What do you want to know more about? Who would you like to see on the show? Hit us up on social media and tell me what you think. Check us out on iTunes, and please leave a review. We're now on Patreon, and your support there helps let us know we're headed in the right direction. We have a lot of exciting new things coming, fascinating guests, and some of the craziest stories you won't believe. So stay in the loop and check out more great content by subscribing at our website, 8keystoGreat.com. Special thanks to my guests and all those of you living an extraordinary life. This is Nate G. We'll see you next week.